I now understand why people are obsessed with these Jordan Dene tank tops. Like, they're so cute, but they're so comfortable. Not sponsored, just legitimately great. Hello, my lovely beans, and welcome back to the Bean Book Club. Woohoo! I was planning on uploading this video today, and I didn't even realize it was World Book Day, so I'll call that a win. For those of you new to the Bean Book Club, welcome. This is the book club on my channel where we read 2 books every month, and the first book I choose, and the second book is recommended to me by you guys over on Goodreads. Also not sponsored, just a really handy website. So if you want to recommend a book to me, be sure to follow the link in the bottom bar below over to my Goodreads account, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified when that video is uploaded. So now, let's jump in to our book, which was The Science of Harry Potter by Roger Highfield. I loved this book. The story of how I found this book was that my boyfriend got this for me for Christmas. He's super into science, I'm super into Harry Potter, and so it seemed like a really cool book for us to both enjoy. And what I want to say about this book, and obviously there are no spoilers in this book, it's just science. I have never been a science math person. The reason why I've never really been a science person is because I'm not a math person, and there's a lot of math obviously involved in science. My brain is an English and history brain and not so much a science brain, but with that said, I love science and I love learning cool things about science. And so what I loved about this book is that as someone who is not inclined to understand science really easily, I understood almost all of this book. Obviously, some little things would go over my head, but I thought that Roger Highfield did a really amazing job of making this a read that anybody at any science level could read. So this book pretty much had 2 parts. The first part was literally taking things from the world of Harry Potter and explaining how they could work with science, like replacing the magic in some spaces with science. So when I say that, I literally mean how broomsticks could work, how apparition would work, some magical zoology, how certain fantastic beasts could exist. It was hella cool! One of my favorite facts that I learned at the beginning of this book, it's like in the first chapter, it's probably within the first couple of pages, was that like there are people in high levels of NASA that have tried to figure out like how one could broomstick because of this cultural phenomena of like witches on broomsticks. This is a thing that has been researched. That just makes me so happy. I want to meet the person in like an actual functioning big organization that's like, excuse me, can we get some funding next to research the broomsticks, the flying ones? I also am obsessed with apparition. Like anytime that any person asks me like, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? It's pretty much apparition. If I could like transport myself from one spot to the next spot, I hate travel time. I hate it. So learning about the physics of how apparition could work in a way that my mind actually like understood was fascinating. And then the second part of the book went into the actual like history, mythos, and ideology of like where witchcraft in our real history has come from, which my English and history loving brain just like absorbed like it was the most delicious piece of breakfast. There's a chapter in that part that talks about the Philosopher's Stone, which he calls the Sorcerer's Stone, and I'm sure that got tons of outrage. There's also a chapter on Dumbledore, and so he still manages at every turn to like bring it back to Harry Potter, but I really like that he kind of uses Harry Potter as a conduit to get you more interested in science and interested in these very specific and also complex physics things. And it's interesting because I feel like the main point that I really want to touch upon when reviewing this book is that Roger Highfield is very clearly a Harry Potter fan himself, because I feel like sometimes when you're watching something, whatever it is, and there's magic in there, there's sometimes going to be a person that's next to you that's like, oh well, you know, that could be explained by science. And in the way that that person says that to you, it almost feels like they're trying to like ruin the magic and be like, no, that's not magic, that's just science. And that is not what Roger Highfield is saying to you at all. In fact, there's an amazing quote in the book that is, science will never be able to erase all the magic from life. What he's trying to do is to get you excited about the magic of science and the fact that some of these things could potentially exist around you. He's trying to get you excited about it and to understand more about it. He's not trying to crush the fantastical vibe. Right in the beginning of the book, he uses a really great example of how if Arthur Weasley were spending a day in our world, the way that he is enamored by the Muggle world is how we are enamored by the magic world, and that those two just might be more intertwined than we realize. He's trying to tell you, yo, your dreams could come true. I think often in my life I feel bad about the fact that I don't understand science more than I do. Like, I'll feel dumb about it. In high school I often felt really dumb about the fact that math just didn't make that much sense to me, and therefore that affected a lot of my understanding of science. Like, I'd understand the history elements of science, but I wouldn't understand the actual science because I couldn't do the formulas. And this book could have made me feel dumb, and it did not make me feel dumb. I thought it did a great job. And some of the things that he says are a little outlandish. Like, I didn't buy into some of the things that he had to say about Quidditch and a couple of other little things. However, I still bought into that this guy was giving me the best representation that he could back in 2002. That's important, I feel like, to mention. This was written in 2002. So science has probably evolved even more towards some of the research than when he wrote this book. I'm getting all tongue-tied now because I'm passionate about it. I really love this book. I read some reviews online of people that were a little upset that in the second part of the book it goes into history for a while, for like a chapter or two, and it doesn't talk about Harry Potter for a little while. But truthfully, I really enjoyed that because, again, I mean, my boyfriend would have never picked this up for me, I don't think, if Harry Potter had not been in the title. And so I feel like, almost in the way that we sometimes get clickbaited, this was like mostly honest clickbait. It just used Harry Potter to get you hooked onto hearing about Harry Potter, plus some other really cool things. And I really enjoyed everything that was presented in this book, not just the stuff that directly was like, well, here's the thing about apparition, here's the thing about magic creatures. So if you are interested in this book, I definitely recommend it. I'm so excited to hear from you guys in the comments about how you felt about this book, whether you leave this video going out and buying it and then coming back and letting me know, or if you read it along with the book club. I'm so excited, so please tell me in the comments. And that brings me to our next book, which was the first one recommended by you guys. Pew, 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 pew. And that book is Ready Player One. This was specifically recommended to me by one of my Patreon lovelies, Emily, and then she mentioned it on a live stream and everyone jumped on board. They were like, yes, you must read that. That is an amazing book. So that is what we are reading next, and I'm gonna be posting that video probably in the next week or week and a half or so because I want to get us caught up on the book club. So if you don't have the chance to read it in a week and a half, don't worry, I'll try and make a mostly spoiler-free video in a week and a half and we can catch up with one another when you get there. And again, if you want to recommend a book to me, please do. I've been loving seeing all the recommendations because you guys have honestly been on it. And so you can add me as a friend using the link in the bottom bar below and recommend books to me that way. Otherwise, I gotta split because in a couple of hours I'm going to a midnight release of the Nintendo Switch. So I'm gonna be waiting online in the cold, but I'll have Zelda soon, so everything is fine. I love you, lovely beans, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!